Howdy folks, Rifle Chair here. Today we're going to be doing a kind of a comparison and analysis between two heavy-barreled precision rifles. The Enfield Enforcer, which is chambered in .308, and we've got enough arms here, heavy-barreled .308 Remington 700. Okay, so this a little bit of background on these rifles. The Enfield Enforcer that's over my shoulder here has a 27.5-inch barrel. It has it's chambered in .308, of course, 27.5-inch barrel. This has a 26-inch barrel. Okay, so there's a little bit of variation there. They both have the same twist, so both rifles are running a 1 in 12 twist. Now the design of the rifling in the Enfield Enforcer is Chordal rifling, which means that the edges of the lands are slightly rounded. This does not. These are very, very crisp, well-defined, sharp edges to the rifling. The Enfield Enforcer has 4 lands and the Remington has 6. So what are we going to see so far as we shoot the same? We'll be shooting at least 3 different lots of ammunition through both of these rifles. We'll be looking generally at group size. I don't expect a lot because the quality of the ammunition I'm shooting today is not good. It's not good. But at least it's going to be bad ammunition for both rifles, okay? Not good. So 7.62 NATO, Norinco, 144 grain FMJ, steel cased ammunition. I'll be shooting a bunch of that, mainly to get zeroed and just to get some velocities. We'll be chronographing all of these loads. We'll be able to tell if there's going to be a variation so far as velocity is concerned, overall spread of the group sizes, and we'll just be interesting to see. We'll also be looking at chamber pressure. Will this rifle have more or less chamber pressure than this one? And we'll be determining that based off. We're going to get the calibers out, and we're going to look at the brass. The brass will give us a lot of indicators as to what kind of pressure each of these rifles is going to be shooting. I'm not going to take any video of me shooting these rifles because, frankly, that's a little bit boring. But I'll give you a couple of beauty sweeps of each of these rifles, and then we'll show you the results. Okay. Hopefully it's going to be interesting. You don't see too many rifles anymore that have the Chordal rifling. Maybe there's a reason for that. I just using deductive reasoning, it makes sense to me that the Enfield Enforcer, we're going to be seeing some increases in velocity and in comparison to the Remington 700, and I suspect the Remington 700 we're going to be seeing some slightly higher chamber pressures because it's running 6 lands instead of 4, and the Enfield Enforcer is running slightly rounded. So velocity is important with this. Probably more precision out of the Remington because this is a blue printed rifle, accurized, and it's a hell of a good shooter. But I'm interested to see if there's going to be any real difference between the Enforcer and the Remington 700. We're running the Citron S1H TAC 4-12 by 44 on the Remington. It's got a 20-minute of angle Ken Farrell mount, and we're running a 3-9 by 40 Redfield on the Enforcer, and CZ 550 rings. Yes, CZ 550 rings. Parker Hale rings normally for the mount system that's on the Enfield Enforcer, but I found it's difficult to find those rings now, and frankly they're not very good rings. So I found a replacement. This is going to be a bit of a test for those rings to see if they work quite well. The 19mm dovetail for the CZ 550 works just fine on the Parker Hale mounts. There's no recoil stud, but I found that the stripper clip groove acts as a recoil stud for these rings. We'll give it a test. We're gonna probably put in the neighborhood of around 40 rounds through each rifle, and then we'll show you the results. Stay tuned. Alrighty friends, so here we go. The shooting's over and done with, and I've got some results for you. Chordal rifling versus cut tracking. This may not be a terribly scientific test, but my suspicions were correct, and I'll tell you what they are right now. Meanwhile, up here we're going to show you some graphics and some simple targets of just some variation so far as group sizes are concerned, just for your interest. Let's start with the Norinco 7.62 NATO ammunition, steel cased, brass, it's copper washed, steel cased ammunition. It's about 143 to 144 grains. I've weighed a bunch of the bullets. There's a fair amount of variation in the power to charges with this ammunition. A fair amount of variation in the weight of these bullets. But it seems to bounce between 143 and 144 grains bullet weight. So in the Enfield Enforcer, we were getting velocities of the Norinco ammunition at 2,837 feet per second. That's pretty hot. It's pretty fast. Again, out of a 27.5 inch barrel, 2,837 plus or minus 12 feet per second. Now that variation doesn't seem like much. I'm surprised it was as low as it was. And out of the Remington 700, it shot just a little bit slower, same ammunition, at 2,802. And the standard deviation was plus or minus 14 feet per second. So essentially, what this little test does with this ammunition is it proves that the Norinco shot 35 feet per second faster in the Enfield Enforcer. Now there may be some, we'll go into this, pretty much commonality between the different ammunition types that I shot out of both rifles, was that the Enfield Enforcer was faster for all three, even though I had the same twist. Two main factors: the rounded Chordal rifling in the Enfield. There's probably going to be a little bit less friction on the bullet, so there's going to be more drag conceivably on the Remington, slowing the bullets down. Let's go through a little bit more results here. Federal Gold Match, 168 grain Sierra Match King. The Enfield Enforcer shot that ammunition, excuse me, at 2,708 feet per second, plus or minus 6 feet per second. That's a tiny standard deviation, 6 feet per second. Just what you would expect from that ammunition type. Horribly expensive ammunition, but boy does it ever shoot good. And the Remington 700, 2,643, plus or minus 11 feet per second. So it was a greater standard deviation with the Remington 700 than it was with the Enfield Enforcer, and it was significantly slower. The Enfield Enforcer shot that ammunition 65 feet per second faster. Okay? Now the Sierra Match King has a very, very soft, malleable jacket. That may or may not have something to do with the velocities here. I don't know. But I do know that in many regards the foregroove is kind of preferred if you're going to be running lower quality ammunition. But I was surprised that the variation was that much with the Federal Gold Match. So I'll go through the one more load, but start thinking in your minds, well, what does this mean? Is this significant? What does this really mean? With my hand loads, which is a great powder that I'm just starting to learn with, it seems to be giving some great velocities. It shoots good with 223, shoots good with 308. I'm going to start doing some testing with 303 British and the 8x57 Mauser. But these hand loads with 150 grain Hornady spire point, and this is a flat base bullet, not a I can't think today. Anyway, it's a flat base bullet, okay, not a bowtail. That's what I was trying to think of. So that 150 grain bullet with this powder, WC 735, I think it is. Is that right? WC 735, yeah. So this is Winchester case, the Winchester Cartridge Company. This is NATO stamped brass. It's been swaged. But the Enfield Enforcer was shooting this load at 2,808 plus or minus 13 feet per second, and the Remington was slower at 2,772 plus or minus 26 feet per second, which is like twice as much variation with the with the Enfield Enforcer, with the Remington in relation to the Enforcer. And so the Enforcer was faster again by 36 feet per second. All right. So what does this tell you? These 36 to 65 feet per second on average, 35 to 65 feet per second, based on the type of ammunition, is there going to be a fair amount of variation. The heavier bullet, they shot faster. Now the Enfield Enforcer was designed to shoot green dot, or quite often it would be found shooting black dot, which is about kind of like a Palma bullet, 155 grain Palma bullet, for those of you that are into that kind of shooting, Palma matches and so on, F-class. That's really what this rifle was designed to shoot. So I was surprised to see a variation, a bigger variation in velocity with a heavier bullet. But essentially the smaller bullets, there was less velocity difference. But no, in all three circumstances, the Enfield Enforcer had more velocity. Not significant, 35 to 65 feet per second. I don't think that's because of the extra 1.5 inches of barrel length. I think it's got to do with the type of rifling that is in the barrel. And honestly, the group sizes for both were about the same. So the question that has to be asked is, why has Chordal rifling been abandoned? Now, I think there may be some variations of it in the Steyr series of rifles. They maybe call it something different, but they're faster. They're faster barrels. Yeah. It's just a little bit of a scientific experiment. Take it for what it's worth. It's not significant, but both rifles seem to shoot about the same. The Norinco ammunition is about 2 minutes of angle. These are precision rifles, so it's shooting that crappy ammunition, 2-inch groups, pretty much consistently. Both rifles the same. The 168 grain match, both rifles came in at about 1 inch, because it'll shoot 1 inch all day, no matter how hot those freaking barrels get. They'll just keep shooting it, always be 1 inch. And the 150 grain, I think that the Remington may have had a bit of an advantage, but again, it wasn't by much. So certainly the optics on the Enfield Enforcer were not as good as what I was running on the Remington, but the Remington is what I go to for hunting wolves and coyotes and whatnot. So there you have it, folks. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it was fun to run this test. Hope you're all doing well. As always, Maple Leaf up.